Hello, and welcome back to It's a Very Exciting Time, a podcast by a UFO nerd and his tolerant friend. My name is Scott, and I've been fascinated by the phenomenon my whole life.
And I'm Chuck. I'm an aerospace nerd and a tolerant friend.
I started this podcast because since 2017, there have been shocking revelations, from news of secret Pentagon programs to confirmed videos of astonishing craft. In a nutshell, now that we know the government has recovered non-human technology,
Or at least we will, once Scott finishes reviewing all the UAP files.
it raises a natural question. If UFOs are real, what else? Suddenly, some of these other parts of the phenomenon that seemed unlikely are pulled into the realm of the possible.
And they may still be unlikely. But even if it's new science and not aliens, woo!
It's a very exciting time.
It is.
And more so than usual this week,
Yeah?
Chuck.
Yeah?
So we recorded 3 weeks ago, I think. And we
Sure.
talked about the missing scientists and the ongoing rumors that Trump was going to give a speech,
Mm-hmm.
and like, had anything come of President Trump? You know, anyway,
Yeah.
let me give you a brief rundown of
Okay.
the last few weeks and my thought process on each day as I'm like, what is our next episode going to be like? So 3 weeks ago, President Trump was talking in public, and he referenced his himself saying that he was going to disclose. He said, I recently
Okay.
directed the Secretary of War to begin releasing government files related to UFOs and unexplained aerial phenomenon, and I am pleased to report that this process is well underway. We found many very interesting documents, I must say, and the first releases will begin very, very soon.
Hey, so that's second time he's mentioned it. That must mean he's serious, right?
That's right. That's when they actually started working on it. Like, oh shit, he
Yeah.
was serious.
Oh, he meant it? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool. But also, that quote is alarmingly cogent. Uh,
Oh, it's
like,
cleaned up. Don't worry.
okay, okay, okay,
uh,
right.
Last week, our oldest fan of the podcast, former
Ooh,
Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Chris Mellon, was interviewed and asked about the idea of potential government release of UFO files. He said, we're hoping that this is going to be very meaningful and extensive, but we're also under the impression it's going to take a while. And it's not necessarily going to be as extensive as many people might want to see. It's not a nothing burger. They have a considerable amount of data. They have since World War II, and the body of data is growing. Now, confusingly, I had this quote saved because he was interviewed on News Nation, and in the headline for that segment, they said that there would be an avalanche of materials. And it's quoted. It's very clearly supposed to be something Chris Mellon said. He does not say that. I don't know if he said it off the air or if there's some
yeah,
clip that they didn't use, but like,
right. That got cut
the
out.
there is the it's a very short interview. It's like 3 minutes long. Chris Cuomo's talking to him, he answers, and that's
Yeah,
it. He never says avalanche of data, but they clearly implied that was his quote.
yeah,
I don't know. Like, at that point, I'm seeing Chris Mellon says there'll be an avalanche of materials, but what he actually says is it's not going to be as extensive as people probably
yeah,
want.
yeah. Um. Also, I thought Nothing Burger was a Scott thing. Is this like
No,
this?
no, that's
Okay, the
it's
general
something
thing.
I say because people in the community say. Like,
Okay,
at this point, it's become a running joke that, someone will be like, oh, I'm going to release this big thing. And then it comes out, you're like, yeah, it was kind of a nothing burger.
that's fascinating. How does a whatever? Never mind. We're not getting into memeology here.
Okay, so that was a week ago.
Yeah.
At this point, I know we're getting ready to record. I'm like, boy, I don't know what we're going to talk about. There was this weird story about like a group of pastors who said they were briefed by Eric Burleson, who told them that UFO disclosure was coming and they needed to prepare their flocks, and that like, it was going to be aliens created religion and like all this stuff. The whole thing
Wow.
imploded. It turned out to
Yeah.
be like one of the pastors just made it up. All of the pastors who were quoted are YouTube personality pastors who
Aha.
specialize in apocalyptic end time content.
All
So
right. Yeah.
I was kind of like, I guess we could talk about that. 3 days ago, UAP whistleblower David Grush was interviewed, and he said, I don't want to be too prophetic or say by a certain date something's going to come out because there's a lot of causal factors, but I do have confidence that it's going to escalate in the next 60 to 90 days. And I think there's going to be a lot of pressure to get these substantive empirical holdings that I've talked about, not videos or anything like that, out into the ether.
S- So that's exciting because David Grush, I trust a lot. But if it's not videos or anything like that, what is it?
Well, he wouldn't say.
Yeah.
Also,
Okay.
confusingly, the context of that clip, it doesn't sound like he's talking about White House disclosure. It sounds like
Hmm.
he's talking about congressionally forced disclosure, which
Hmm.
kind of follows up on at the time. Trump said this weird thing. No one knew if it was going to happen. And then Representative Luna sent an email to the DoD demanding access to 46 classified videos,
Right.
which was a list provided to her by, as far as we can tell, George Knapp, which is awesome.
Hmm.
But, like we didn't know what was going to happen. So here's Grush saying it's going to escalate and it's going to be more than just videos. Okay, yeah, I trust Grush. He's plugged in, but 60 to 90 days. I don't know if that helps me for our next podcast.
Wait, you
On the
said
same,
the quote said not videos or anything. That's why I'm
yeah,
confused.
like it's unclear what it's
Okay.
going to be.
All right. Yeah.
On the same day, FBI Director Kash Patel was on a podcast and was asked about, President Trump wanting disclosure. And he said, yeah, we've already delivered our first tranche of information. We're all for it. There's nothing in this subject that we don't want released.
So, okay, nothing in this subject that we don't want released. Okay. I mean, of course there isn't. They kind of picked it, right? They picked what they're going to release. So,
Yeah,
of course that tranche is full of things they don't mind releasing.
yeah.
Unless am I reading that wrong or
No, no, it's fine. Also, hilariously, I believe he said the word tranche or tranche. I don't actually know how it's
me
pronounced,
either.
but a batch of things.
Yeah.
Um, every transcript I saw of the interview transcribed it as trunks of information, as if he had just like taken a giant like shipping trunk and just shoved all the files in there and sent it off to the White House. Here, you deal with it, which is an
Yeah.
image I find hilarious.
I
Um,
mean, that'd be a good way to do it.
yeah, so anyway, here we are a few days before I'm supposed to prepare a podcast script, and I'm like, oh man, I don't know if we're just gonna have to do another like, is it happening or not? And
Yeah.
then like Thursday, as far as I can
As
tell,
a
nothing's
gift.
happening. Friday, I get up, I open all my UFO news stuff, and they're all like talking about the releases. And I'm like,
Mm.
what? So I start digging into it. It turns out on Friday, a new like set of government UFO files were released. So I'm like scrambling, trying to figure out what is going on. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
so
clearly
here's
Kash Patel has been watching us and is in our Discord, right? And it's like, oh,
he
I want
took
them
pity on
to,
me. He's like, "Oh, these
yeah,
guys have got nothing."
like nothing. We
Yeah.
gotta deliver a tranche of information.
So President Trump posted on his dumb social network. He said, "As for my promise to you, the Department of War has released the first tranche of UFO UAP files to the public for their review and study, whereas previous administrations have failed to be transparent on this subject. With these new documents and videos, even when he's writing, like random words are capitalized. Why is documents and videos capitalized? These aren't pronouns. Anyway,
Mhm.
with these new documents and videos, the people can decide for themselves, in all caps, what the hell is going on? Have fun and enjoy."
Oh my God. What a weird time that these are the messages from the president.
Yeah, this
Like,
is an official statement from the President of the United States.
yeah.
What the hell is going on?
I mean, that feels like that's the feels like the general feeling out
Yeah,
of the White House, but
hard
not
saying,
necessarily
Donald.
about UAP. Yeah, right. Donald.
So let me ask you a question, Chuck.
Mhm.
Imagine for a moment the government is about to do a release of a collection of UFO materials. Now, I
Okay.
don't know who is responsible for deciding how this information goes out, but I'm assuming it's
Mhm.
not the president. And it's probably not the head of the Pentagon or whatever. There's somebody, some
Sure.
government employee, the Pentagon webmaster or whatever, who has to decide how do you distribute this information to the public.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that's you, what do you think? You've got a pile of documents. How do you distribute them?
I mean, I think there's a couple ways, but you've got that that organization called Arrow, and they've got a website
Sure.
already built that
Yeah.
has like video info on it. Seems
Yeah.
like the right way to go.
Sure. That's totally
Yeah.
reasonable. Yeah. Um, they went a different direction.
Oh God. Okay.
Journalist Peter Doocy, who we've talked about before, he was the one that asked Trump about Obama's comments, and Trump then was like, Obama wasn't supposed to do that. He's in trouble. So he is, I believe, a Fox News reporter. He pops up on the news holding up like a USB hard drive with like a masking tape label on it. He says, "A White House official left this hard drive on my desk overnight. It's labeled Arrow Files, copy 2 of 3. This is the first big batch of UFO disclosure ordered by President Trump. Some of the clips and videos on there have popped up different places before, some of them have not, and we've been going through this all morning and overnight, and all of those videos have just now gone live on war.gov/UFO."
What? Okay. So many questions. Where are the other two copies? Like,
Right? Yeah, who did they get sent to?
but also like why? I don't know.
Really the most efficient means to, like,
Yeah.
let's assume the top of the list, you're like, I got to distribute these files. I got to go to my boy at Fox News. Okay, fine. Sure. Weird, but
Email?
whatever. Literally hand walking
Yeah.
a hand labeled hard drive and dropping it on his desk. Like, it wasn't handed to anyone, it
No.
wasn't mailed, it wasn't couriered.
Yeah, like you own a shipping company. Like,
So weird.
okay. Weird.
Yeah. I think the other question is, you suggested the Arrow website. That's a
Yeah.
good suggestion. Also, Alien and aliens.gov,
Aliens.gov.
they
That
just
came up last
registered
time.
those,
Yeah.
or maybe a new website like, White House Disclosure.gov or something. No, war.gov/UFO.
Is there anything else at war.gov?
Yeah, I mean it's the Pentagon's website now, but like
Oh, okay.
it's now a top level nav item, UFO. It's super goofy. Super,
Weird.
super goofy.
Okay. Well,
Anyway,
I guess so.
yeah, so,
So, I mean, the big question: did you look at them? Is there anything interesting?
I'll be honest with you. I haven't looked at all of them. There's a lot.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
flipped through it. I've got a lot of quotes for you. I encourage
Okay.
everybody to go look at it, but it
Yeah.
is a bizarre website. We're going to talk a
Yeah.
lot about this today. Um, The Associated Press put up a report about it. They said Trump's administration says the public can draw its own conclusions with the information in the files, which include old State Department cables, FBI documents, and transcripts from NASA of crewed flights into space.
That's
A
cool.
new Pentagon website housing the documents on UAPs has a decidedly retro feel, with black and white military imagery of flying objects displayed prominently on the page, with statements displayed in typewriter like font.
I mean, if you get that assignment, you got to have fun with it, right? Like, yeah.
I think that is a charitable statement.
There's-
It looks AI generated to me. I don't know that it is,
Oh, oh, that's
but it
interesting.
feels like someone was like, I need a website that looks like the X Files. And
Mm-hmm.
here's all these files and put them together. Like all of the images are forced into black and white for no
Wait, but they
reason.
aren't originally?
No, of course not.
What?
They're from all periods. There's a bunch of PDFs. When you go to the website, there's like kind of a mission statement at the top and kind of like a news section. And then it says release one. And there's an HTML table with no usable information in it. It's
Hmm.
like a, a randomly generated ID number for the file. The source, I guess that's useful. It's like FBI, DOD, whatever.
Sure.
Then it's like, um, like what is in it and what was the source. And those are just like unfilled out. And then there's like a date, but the date is when it was uploaded to the website. So
Not when it
even though
happened.
some of these
Okay.
are PDFs of reports from the 60s, it says, May 8th, 2026. Like
Amazing.
it's really, really weird. And when you click on any one of the things, it opens up this weird layout with like a little teeny tiny text box that scrolls on the left side in a mono space font that has a generic description of it and then a preview of the document. And I don't know, it's just weird. Like, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, the stuff is there. You can go look
Yeah.
at it, but you'll see what I mean. It feels AI generated. It feels like some poor guy at the DoD was told, "Hey, we need this website up over the weekend, and it has to be
Yeah.
at war.gov/UFO." Like, you know what it's like working with an existing website, right? Like,
Yeah.
you don't get to create this from scratch. Like, oh, it's going in this folder. Like, okay, but,
Right.
who knows what it's going to collide with or what other resources. Anyway,
The
very strange
Okay,
website.
so here's the other thing. There's a GPS coordinates
Yeah,
in the upper right corner,
yeah.
and I just pulled it up on Google Maps, and it's a Popeyes. Um, that's right next door to the Pentagon.
Oh, okay.
but but I think it's very funny that that's the thing. It's like, no, this isn't the Pentagon. This is the Popeyes in the
So this
Pentagon.
isn't GPS coordinates for each item. There is just
No, no,
a GPS coordinate at the top right of the website that's always
yeah,
there
because it looks legit.
because it looks
You know,
techy.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, got it. Anyway, it's a
yeah,
weird website, man.
weird.
The debrief wrote about this also. They said the release comes as part of a newly established program that the White House has dubbed. And I want to pause for a second here because we had we have various program names that we know about, right? There was AWSAP,
Yeah,
AAWSAP, the
right.
Advanced Aerospace Weapons Special Access Program, I think.
Yeah,
There was ATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program.
yeah.
There
Obviously, this is going to
was
start with AA as well, right?
maybe there was the UAP Task Force, UAPTF. That one was
Mm-hmm.
fine. Then when Congress told the Pentagon, you have to stand up a UAP group that reports to Congress, they made up this weird acronym like AOMSIG or something. I don't even remember what it stood for. It was intentionally confusing. That later became ARROW, the
Mm.
anomalous. I don't even remember what it stands for. Reporting. Anyway,
Something
um,
reporting organization.
so they've
Yeah,
got all these weird acronyms. Okay, for some reason, the UFO disclosure thing that Trump has started needs
yeah,
its own program name. It's not Arrow, it's a separate
right.
thing. They
Yeah,
called it the Presidential Unsealing and Reporting System for UAP Encounters, or PURSUE, which
okay.
officials describe as an ongoing effort, meaning it's not just now, this is going to
Yeah,
keep going,
hopefully. We'll see.
to identify, review, and declassify decades of UAP related records held across multiple federal agencies.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that Trump's government does. They like their backronyms, but I really feel like they missed the mark on this one. Like
Sure. Yeah.
they could have done the administration logging of inexplicable encounters and novel sightings or aliens.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
they could have, but I'm actually more surprised that they didn't go with Trump's reports on unidentified tremendous happenings or truth.
Truth would have
Wouldn't
been
that
a
just,
good one.
yeah,
Honestly, it fits
yeah,
their whole vibe of wanting to
I
be the
know.
transparency. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that's true.
just missed it.
Um,
They should hire us. No,
the
actually, no.
website was up and down for a little while. It got a phenomenal amount of traffic. The next
Yeah,
day,
I
the
bet.
Pentagon tweeted, they said, in just 12 hours, the site has received 340 million hits from Americans and truth seekers worldwide seeking unfiltered UAP information.
Yeah, truth seekers. You see,
Nicely done, buddy.
yeah, thanks.
CBS wrote, out of the 162 files included in this, 108 contain redactions. The Pentagon said information was withheld to protect the identity of eyewitnesses, the location of government facilities, or potentially sensitive information about military sites not related to UAP.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
really confusing, too, because some of the files were new, some of them had already been released on the FBI's website,
Hmm.
but were now re-released with fewer redactions.
Oh,
So,
sure, sure.
yeah, the whole
I
thing's
mean, as
kind of
long
a
as they're not
mess.
redacting more, that
I
would be
don't
weird.
think they were. And
Yeah.
you put a little note in here. You're like, how much are they redacting? I
Yeah.
don't want you to picture like an entirely blacked out page. When
Yeah.
I skimmed through the files, I saw very few black lines. And the ones that I
Yeah.
saw were exactly the kind of things you would expect, a
Okay.
name or a location, maybe
Yeah.
a sentence, but not like whole parts of
Yeah.
the document.
It's like
On the other hand,
I met with Bleep at Bleep,
yeah,
and we talked about some stuff.
the documents were a weird mix.
Yeah.
There's videos, there's photos, but mostly the documents themselves kind of fall into two time periods. There's old FBI stuff, which is honestly, hilariously, mostly newspaper clippings.
Really?
Yeah, it's not
Okay.
like their own internal memos. It's clearly someone at the FBI was tasked with monitoring reports of UFOs in the news. So it's just
Okay.
newspaper clippings and magazine articles and
Yeah.
like some
Why
internal
not?
memos, but it's all stuff from the 60s. And
Yeah.
then there's like modern military witness reports.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Interesting.
anyway, that part's kind of interesting. The Disclosure Foundation said the modern operational material is one of the most important parts. The first drop includes 93 entries mentioning Arrow and 81 involving misreps or mission reports. This means much of this release is tied to formal government reporting channels, not just old newspaper clippings. And I think that's worth noting because if you
Yeah.
start just clicking through the website, it seems to be chronological. So the first like 3 or 4 pages are these PDFs full of old press clippings. So it takes you a while to get to the more
Got it.
modern stuff.
Misrep seems like a terrible name for mission report. It feels like a
Yeah,
misrepresentation, but
100%.
whatever. Okay, so that's interesting. They chose their looking at the site. They have a pagination, and clearly they chose pagination in a way that would maybe not emphasize the new stuff or
I mean,
mm,
I would say it de emphasizes the new
yeah, right.
stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
you see 10 entries on the first page
right.
and it's all old FBI files. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's 17 pages.
Yeah.
Okay.
CBS went on to kind of summarize what's in the drop as a whole. They said the documents contain eyewitness testimony, photos and reports of sightings and unexplained objects, detailed incidents dating back decades from around the globe. Friday's release included 120 PDFs, 28 videos, and 14 image files. Other photos are contained in PDF documents. The images are mostly still pictures from footage of suspicious objects filmed by military aircraft. 6 of the photos show phenomena observed by NASA astronauts during the Apollo 12 and 17 missions, captured in photographs taken from the surface of the moon.
We haven't talked about moon aliens. How is that possible? Like,
So,
yeah, I don't
before
know.
I get into this,
Yeah.
there have been rumors for years
Okay.
that UFOs chased the Apollo missions. Um,
Ah,
Buzz Aldrin has said some weird things over the years. He
yeah.
explicitly said that they were followed by something.
Hmm.
He also said there's a monolith on one of the moons of Mars. Like, Aldrin has said
Okay.
some strange things over the years. Astronaut Edgar Mitchell famously went on to become very interested in transhuman phenomena
Mm.
and astral projection and life after death. Um, One of the weirdest things is there is a recording of a press conference of the first moon landing crew before they leave, and they're boisterous, they're excited,
Yeah.
they're smiling, they're chit-chatting, like they're clearly pumped. And then there's a press conference after they get back, and they
Mhm.
are fucking somber, dude. Like,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
wearing suits, they're buttoned up, there's no emotion in the room. Now, there's a million reasons why that might be. I don't know how quickly they recorded it. Were they just tired? Like,
I mean,
but
yeah.
the read has always been that they had an experience up there, and
Hmm.
now they had to sit down in front of the press and not talk about it. So
I mean,
we don't talk about a lot of these historical cases like Roswell and moon landing stuff because there's so much out there
fair.
that it's kind of like contaminated. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
we've had 60 years of people projecting their view of things onto these events. No matter what you think happened, you can find someone who has argued that case
yeah,
over time. That's completely ignoring the wackadoo shit, like, we never went to the moon. Like, just the things that are like, yeah, we went to the moon,
yeah,
and, you know.
yeah,
So I want to be clear. That's why we haven't talked about this stuff. But that stuff is out there.
yeah.
NASA has always been very clear about this stuff. Anytime you find, like, oh, there's a weird clip of astronauts discussing something they saw out the window, NASA's like, they were discussing like a piece of the ship that fell off that they're looking at, like there's always kind of a scientific explanation from NASA.
Sure,
So NASA's stance has been very clear over the years. We have zero evidence of anything anomalous up there. Um,
sure.
okay, fine. So let's talk about what we have from the Apollo missions in these files,
Okay,
because I think it's interesting, but not necessarily like a silver bullet.
sure.
Um,
Yeah.
CNN reports during the Apollo 12 mission, the second crewed moon landing in 1969, one of the astronauts, Alan L. Bean, reported to mission control seeing flashes of lights that are just sailing off in space. He said, it looks like some of those things are escaping the moon. They really haul out of here and just press off at the stars. That's a pretty weird thing to say.
Yeah.
Um, 3 years later, during the Apollo 17 mission in 1972, two astronauts reported seeing very bright particles of light. Quote, it's like the 4th of July out there, one of them, lunar module pilot Harrison Jack Schmidt, said.
So they talk about that on the ISS, and I thought the modern conclusion was that these are high
Mm-hmm.
energy particles hitting
Sure.
the ocular nerve or the eye or something. Um,
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, yeah. Do you think it's different from that, or
What I think is we have these weird things astronauts have said, and NASA is a group of individuals who are inclined towards scientific answers for things. And
Sure.
if you tell
Okay.
them, figure out why astronauts are seeing flashes of lights in space, they're going to find something that could explain it. I don't know if they're right or not. That sounds
Hmm.
reasonable to
Yeah.
me. Another
Yeah.
thing is like the comment about the 4th of July out there. That is apparently supposed to be about like chunks of ice that have fallen
Mhm.
off the ship and are kind of like spinning around and catching the light out there.
Yeah.
Again, sounds reasonable. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um,
That is what
yeah,
it looked like when you flushed out of the shuttle, for the record.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's this like burst of ice crystals, and they
yeah,
would catch the light, and it looked like fireworks.
yeah. You'd never know that it
It's
was
pretty
poop.
cool. Yeah, yeah, right. Um, so I was looking at some of these, and my favorite thing about these reports is that the incident location just says moon. Like, I don't know why. That just makes me so happy.
It's not from the Popeyes by the Pentagon this time. This one was on the moon.
It's on the moon, and I'm not where on the moon, just
Yeah, yeah.
moon. You know, it's fine.
Irrelevant. Moon. That reminds me, NASA has a tendency to do kind of shorthand things. On the most
Yeah.
recent Artemis mission, one of the astronauts was on the microphone trying to explain the sense of elation they felt as they were looking out the window at the moon approaching the view that very few people get. You know, there's a
Yeah.
very poetic, flowery description. And Mission Control calls back. They go, "Copy, moon joy." Like it's a checkbox. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
astronauts are experiencing moon joy today.
Excellent. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, during Apollo, we had no idea whether that was actually a thing or not.
Yeah,
Like,
and the overview effect where
yeah.
astronauts see the Earth from above and
Yeah,
feel
right.
this kind of overwhelming sense of love and protectiveness towards the planet.
Mhm.
That is something that has been reported across many astronauts. So I
Yeah.
don't mean to be totally snarky about it, but yeah, it is kind of funny watching when the like scientific mission driven
Yeah.
side of things kind of collides with the poetry driven side of things.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Um, CBS reports one Apollo 17 photo from December of 1972 is described as depicting 3 dots in a triangular formation in the lunar sky. The Pentagon said the photo has been released previously, which is true,
Okay.
but the military and NASA are completing a new review of the original film to try to explain what it shows. While this photo has been previously released and discussed by keen observers, read UFO nuts,
Mhm.
there is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly. New preliminary U.S. government analysis suggests the image feature is potentially the result of a physical object in the scene, the Pentagon caption reads. Another document says Apollo 17 astronaut Jack Schmitt reported seeing a flash on the lunar surface north of Grimaldi crater.
Huh. So wait, the image feature is potentially a result of a physical object, but it's in the lunar sky. Oh, I guess they're saying it's
A
UAP or
UFO.
something.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, interesting. And the flash on the lunar surface. I mean, optics are hard. Like, I don't
Optics
know.
are super hard. We're
Yeah.
looking at old film, old reports. A lot of the
Yeah.
witnesses are now deceased or no longer
Hmm.
reliable. It's a hard job. The older the witness statements and the footage is, the harder it is to analyze it. I
Yeah.
don't envy them having to look at this.
Yeah.
Um,
All right. Makes sense that we haven't talked about
However,
them.
I will say this.
Yeah.
Dr. Beatrice Villarreal, talking
Oh.
about the release, said the Apollo 17 report describes flashes strikingly similar to those detected by the Vasco team. Transient flashes, we believe, originate from flat, highly reflective, tumbling objects in Earth orbit, large numbers of them.
I mean, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Does she have like correlation? Because she did a lot of
No,
correlations.
no, the whole point of Villarreal's study is it's all pre Sputnik, which is what,
Oh, right. Of course.
67? I can't
Uh,
remember when Sputnik was, but it's before the moon landings. So
yeah. Right. Right. Right.
this is
Okay.
after. But the point is, a few years ago, I would have been inclined to kind of dismiss reports of singular transient
Mm.
flashes of light in the sky. we now have this study from Via
Yeah.
Royale that's saying, like, look, we have pretty compelling evidence that some of those things were physical objects in orbit, and that's
Yeah.
really hard to dispute.
Yeah.
Does that extend to these reports on the moon? I don't know, but it's an interesting point that, like,
Yeah.
this is maybe not quite as dismissible as it would have been a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah. Now, I got a couple quotes here from people who had a particular reaction that I have some feelings about, and I suspect you will too.
Yeah.
The Disclosure Party just tweeted, so NASA does have UFO files, which,
I mean,
for
yeah,
years they've been saying, no, we
whatever.
don't. Journalist Ross Coulthart went even further. He said they supposedly did an inquiry a few years ago and found there was no evidence of UAPs. We now know someone in NASA lied. They lied to the public.
I mean, are you surprised? Like,
I mean,
I,
I kind of am. Here's the thing. Chuck's got
yeah,
kind of a snarky comment written here, a funny little joke. But I what bothers me about this is there are government agencies that I would not be surprised to find out were lying to me. The
sure,
CIA, I expect, is lying to me every fucking day. The
absolutely.
Pentagon, sure, why not? NASA, by and large, I don't think has any real motivation to lie. NASA is
Hmm.
populated by nerds who want to explain things with science. What
Yeah,
I believe is there are genuine anomalies in NASA footage that have been released to the public. I don't believe they're holding anything back, but NASA genuinely believes all of these can be explained with mundane science. Chunks of ice, cosmic particles striking
optics.
your optic nerves, all of that. Like, I don't think NASA's like, hide the footage. Like, I don't think
Yeah,
that's happening. Now, that said, NASA has had to coordinate with the military on secretive space launches in the past. I believe if there are secret NASA files, it's shit like the CIA snuck a spy device onto one of our satellites in 1972 and we weren't allowed to talk about it. Sure, but I don't believe that NASA is hiding evidence of alien life. I just don't. So,
yeah.
like
I mean,
jokes aside, I like genuinely, I don't think NASA is lying to us. I would be very surprised by that.
I think there's some where, like, I think the import of all the Nazi scientists
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was
Project
kept a little
Paperclip.
bit mum,
Sure, sure,
and there was some lying happening there. And I suspect that there are other things that involve a little bit of obfuscation or a little bit of. I think generally
sure.
they're a pretty transparent organization,
Yeah, a
but
little bit
they're
of like whitewashing over awkward moments. 100%. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know.
Now, all that said, now that I've ridden to NASA's defense and said I don't believe they're keeping any secrets from us, Lou Elizondo came out and said something wild.
Yeah.
He said, wait until the videos and audio come out from the space shuttle missions. When I was at US Space Force with Dave Grush, Dave and I had access to some incredible information. Wait until the American people find out what NASA knows and what's been going on with the International Space Station, and before that, the space shuttle missions.
Yeah. That does sound fun. Let's do it.
I mean, you know? So
Yeah.
all of this firmly goes into my wait and see folder.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
I'm not prepared to 100% believe that there are big dark secrets about the space
Hmm.
shuttle missions and stuff, but I got to admit it would be pretty freaking exciting if there were.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Okay. Now that we've gotten the NASA stuff out of the way, because I knew Chuck was going
Okay.
to want to talk about that
Mm.
first and foremost,
Yeah, yeah.
let's talk about the rest of the stuff in the release. So,
Okay.
first of all, there were some videos.
Okay.
CBS says the roughly 24 videos, which run for a total of 41 minutes, show reported encounters around the world between
Hmm.
2020 and 2026.
Okay.
Most show footage from an infrared camera tracking a white object that appears as a speck on the screen moving through the air. Um, The report that accompanied a video taken in Greece in 2023 said the object was making multiple 90-degree turns at approximately 80 miles an hour. One of the videos shows an object described as resembling a football in the Indo-Pacific, and another from Syria shows two semi-transparent, irregularly shaped orange areas that each appear for 2 seconds.
Huh. It's cool that there's so many videos from recent times. Do
Mm-hmm.
they? One of the complaints that we've heard from like Project Galileo is that they're generally only giving us like one channel of telemetry. Are
Yeah.
any of these accompanied with like video, infrared, radar, like
Mm-hmm.
all the channels?
Yeah, no, that's a really astute point. And no, they're not.
Okay.
Um, if you have watched the FLIR footage that was released in the past, the Go
Mhm.
Fast, Gimbal, and FLIR
Yeah.
videos, you have a pretty good idea of what these
Okay.
videos look like. They're all a little different, don't get me wrong. And there is some exciting stuff, right? We do have footage of one of these objects executing multiple really sharp turns that do not look
Okay.
like traditional flying craft would be able to make. Um, some of them are genuinely bizarre. There's one that looks like an eight-pointed star.
Hmm.
It looks like a freaking chandelier. It, in fact, is so symmetrical that a lot of people have already dismissed it as debunked as obviously a sensor artifact.
Sure.
That one I find really interesting because
Yeah.
it's not quite so easy to dismiss. Um, Retired Navy pilot Ryan Graves was asked about that video in particular. He said, it's tough. The video you're referencing, the first thing I see when I look at that, we have to remember we're looking at the infrared energy that's coming from the device, not
Hmm.
necessarily the physical shape of it. So, what does that heat signature tell us? What does that field coming off the back tell us about the propulsion system or how it's maneuvering? I don't have these answers. I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't seen anything that looks like that. I will say, with the reports that we've had at Americans for Safe Aerospace, which I'll remind you is the civilian UFO reporting agency that
Yeah.
he set up, um, other witnesses have described the same thing and have already reached out to me since this video dropped to remind me
Huh.
that they had the same experience. So, although these are onesie twosie videos that the government has decided to release, this is something that average people are seeing as well, not just sensor operators.
Interesting. That reminds me, I we haven't really heard much about his organization. Do they also release reports or anonymized videos or anything like that?
Not really. They're mostly acting as an advocacy group.
Okay.
His job is to overhaul the system so that pilots can speak freely about anomalous things they've cited without worrying about getting their license revoked.
Got it. Okay. Cool. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, there are videos. They are worth looking at, but there's nothing in there that I would describe as the oh shit thing. Where like you could show this to a normal person, they'd be like, "Holy fuck, that's a UFO."
Yeah,
It's
right.
like the gimbal or go fast, right? Like the gimbal video in particular, right? Like here's an object that's drifting along. Because of parallax, it's hard to tell how fast it's moving, but it seems to be galloping along at a good clip. And then it just suddenly starts rotating.
Yeah.
And not like an uncontrolled tumble, just like doo doo
Yep.
doo. I'm now, rolling onto my front. That's not something that any flying device we have does. That
Yeah.
move is really hard to explain, but it's visually unimpressive. It's like you literally have a cutout shape of a UFO and it's just like
Yeah.
rotated on your screen. That's it. It's not
Yeah.
an impressive video unless you happen to be, a military technician or you've got a background or someone explains to you why it's remarkable. Similarly, the video of the thing like zigzagging around the screen, if you know the speed and the tracking and the way that jets move, that's a really unusual thing.
Yeah.
But some of this stuff is hard to analyze. This eight-pointed star video, as it drifts around the screen, it leaves a trail. But the trail looks to me like, did you ever have an old cheap camcorder with a little shitty little LCD screen?
Yeah. Oh,
So if you
so
ever
like the sensor
pointed it at a
echoes.
light,
Yeah.
as you moved it around, the light would leave a trail behind because literally the sensors were overloaded. It would take them a second. Like
Hmm.
it was almost like burn in. That's what the trail looks like. There's also a weird thing where at one point there's what looks like a parachute sailing behind it. But if you know anything about optics, the parachute is moving in equal and opposite reactions to the angle of the light. And the perfect refraction pattern, the perfect 8-pointed star looks like a refraction pattern. If you point a
Yeah.
lens at something, you get stars and stuff, right? Like with James Webb Space Telescope, it was interesting because we get a 6-pointed star instead of a
Right.
4-pointed star because of the
Yeah.
nature of the lens and stuff. So a lot of this looks like optical, but Ryan Graves' comments about what we're looking at is infrared energy. I don't know if that changes the optical stuff. Like,
I don't think so.
I don't
I
think
mean,
so either, but like,
James Webb is infrared. It's
right.
all infrared.
But my point here is it's hard for lay people to analyze these and know what's really
Oh,
unusual
for
about
sure.
them. So when
Yeah.
Mick West looks at it, he goes, whatever. That's a thing on a parachute. Maybe I will accept that is a possible explanation for it. I will not accept that is obviously the only explanation for it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
said, there's none of these videos that have the thing like, oh, I'm going to go show this to, my skeptical cousin, and they're going to be like, wow, you were right. UFOs exist.
Yeah. Yeah. So I looked up this eight-pointed star, and
Yeah.
it's way more interesting than I thought. I was just
Mm-hmm.
picturing like a cutout, but it absolutely looks like that James Webb like
Yeah.
diffraction
Yeah. It
pattern.
is
It's fascinating.
perfectly symmetrical in the way
Yeah.
that optical refractions are. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But it does suggest that that thing is real effing bright, whatever it
Yeah.
is, which is
Right. And
kind of cool.
Ryan Graves pointing out this might be the exhaust or the propulsion system. Like
Hmm.
whatever is keeping this thing aloft is sending so much infrared energy at us that it is causing a sensor bloom,
Yeah,
you
right.
know? So
Yeah,
yeah, I don't know. The point I'm trying to make to everybody is there's a lot of videos. I'm glad there's a lot more videos, right? Like
yeah,
the number of confirmed official video releases from the government went up like tenfold overnight. That's
yeah,
great. That's only going to help us. But they're all very much in line with the kinds of things we have seen with infrared cameras. And as you mentioned, they do not include matching corroborative data like here's the radar track and here is the eyewitness account and here is
yeah,
the other sensor data. Like it's just the video.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll get multiples at some point. We can hope.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to poo-poo it. I'm just trying to be
Yeah,
realistic with people about what you can expect to see here. Um,
yeah.
so that's the videos. Let's talk about the documents that came along with this because I mentioned there's a bunch of PDFs and
Hmm.
stuff in here. CBS says the bulk of the documents feature modern incident reports from members of the military detailing their encounters with strange objects or unexplained phenomena in Iraq, Syria, the Persian Gulf, Strait of Hormuz, Gulf of Aden, Greece, and elsewhere. One pilot described seeing a triangular and metallic UAP flying at 25,000 feet over the Mediterranean.
Oh, that's I don't know. It's different. It feels different to hear that that's like a modern report.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
that's
And
pretty
we've
cool.
talked before that if there is a witness I'm inclined to believe,
Yeah.
um, the people who fly military aircrafts are pretty high on the list. Like,
Mm.
they do not let just anybody fly those vehicles, they do not let
Yeah.
just anybody drop bombs. Like, the kinds
Yeah.
of people who are empowered to make those tactical minute to minute in the seat of fire decisions are literally the definition of trained observers. And if they're
Yeah.
saying, I saw something weird, I'm inclined to take that seriously. And
Yeah.
it helps when we have dozens and dozens and dozens of reports, any one of
Right.
which you might dismiss, but cumulatively, boy, this sure
They
looks
start
like
getting.
our military people are seeing a lot of weird stuff out there.
Yeah, yeah,
CBS goes on to say the release also includes the FBI's case file detailing reports of unidentified objects and flying discs from 1947 to 1968. Spanning 18 separate documents, the case file features high profile incident accounts, photographic evidence from sites like Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and technical proposals regarding potential propulsion systems, according to the Defense Department's summary. The Pentagon said the FBI has previously released portions of the case file, but Friday's version includes fewer redactions and several newly declassified pages.
yeah. I looked at some of the pages, and they're like they are fascinating. Just
Mm-hmm.
from an archaeological point of view,
Yeah,
seeing these documents that were clearly like, they've got little like tape around the holes that keep them in the binders because they're
yeah, yeah,
75 years old, and
yeah.
they're just
The F,
fascinating from that angle. But
yeah,
yeah,
the FBI documents in particular are really interesting because more than anything else, these very clearly look like someone was given the job of going through the physical file archives and grabbing anything that referenced UFOs.
yeah,
And that includes internal memos discussing
yeah,
policy. That includes eyewitness statements from people who are clearly just off their meds. It
yeah,
includes eyewitness statements from people who sound pretty credible. It
yeah.
includes things like a memo from FBI Director Hoover responding to someone sending in UFO photos and asking what he thinks.
Mm, interesting.
Interestingly, one of the documents that was originally uploaded has since been removed, which
Really?
was this weird photo of two guys in big trench suits holding up the body of a weird 3 foot tall alien.
What?
This photo has been out in the community for a long time. It is
Okay.
from an April Fool's edition of a German magazine. So it's pretty widely debunked, but they
Yeah.
included it. Now, presumably, they included it because when they went through all the FBI files for all the UFO shit, they didn't go, is this one real? They
Right.
said, this says UFO, and I was told to put all of them together.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that I noticed about it is, um, there's all the like secret or confidential or sensitive
Mm-hmm.
headings. It looks like someone just drew with a pen. I'm like, is that all it takes to declassify something? Like
Yeah,
I
you
feel
want it
like
to
we could
feel
do
more.
this.
Like, isn't there a declassified stamp at least?
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
Like something.
CVS continues, they say, other documents detail historical encounters, including the famous crash in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. One
Hmm.
section of the FBI case file includes a memo written by an agent at the Bureau's Dallas field office to FBI headquarters. The agent reports that a major in the Air Force called to tell the office that an object purporting to be a flying disc. First of all, love that phrase.
Yeah.
Through context, you can tell he means an object that might be a flying disc or was reported
Yeah.
as a flying disc, but purported to be makes it sound like the object itself was pretending to be a
Yeah. Yeah.
UFO. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, look at me, I'm a UFO. An object purporting to be a flying disc was recovered near Roswell, New Mexico. The disc is hexagonal in shape. Okay, this sounds really
Okay.
promising. Holy shit,
Yeah.
internal document, and was suspended from a balloon by cable, which balloon was approximately 20 feet in diameter, the memo said.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Interesting.
One of the problems with the Roswell encounter, this is the perfect example of we haven't talked about Roswell.
Yeah.
Roswell has been debunked over and over and over again. One of the more recent attempts at debunking it, I mean, the original attempt was that it was a weather balloon.
Sure.
But one of the more recent attempts is it was this particular type of high altitude balloon that they sent up that was kept secret. Like, but the
Okay.
problem is, if you believe the UFO narrative here, They recovered a UFO. Someone reported it to the press without realizing they weren't supposed to, and then they had to go into damage control mode. So they quickly brought in the wreckage of a weather balloon, took a bunch of photos with it, and went, "Oh, so whoopsie, our
Yeah.
bad. We thought it was a UFO. It's just a weather balloon." So even though this is a report from the time, it's not going to help anyone. If you're inclined to believe the whole thing was nothing, you're going to go,
Yeah.
"Oh, see, they even said it was a balloon." If you're inclined to believe it was a cover up, you're going to go, "Yeah, they said it was a balloon because that was the cover up." Like, it gets you nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all I find myself thinking is that, gosh, those aliens have really advanced quickly.
Yeah,
We sh-
balloon powered in 1947 to hovering triangles in
to 0
2025.
point triangle. Yeah, right.
Yeah. CBS continues, they said, a more recent document detailed the experience of several federal law enforcement agents in an undisclosed location in the western U.S. in 2023. This file, prepared by the Pentagon, reported that teams of agents had seen various orbs and strange figures in the sky or just off the ground. One incident involved agents seeing orange orbs in the sky that emitted smaller red orbs in groups of 2 to 4. These events were witnessed by multiple teams from varying locations and vantage points over a 2-day period, the file said. Due to the sequential nature of the events, it is not known whether there was a single orange mother orb that released the groups of red orbs or whether there were multiple orange orbs at play.
Interesting. I mean, we haven't heard a lot about orbs in a while. This
Yeah.
is, return to form.
Yeah. And again, the thing I like about this report, multiple witnesses from
Hmm.
different vantage points over multiple
Yeah,
days. This
right.
wasn't one guy. This was enough people talking about it that someone took it credibly and wrote a report. That's
Right.
compelling to me. I don't know
Yeah.
what the orbs are, but I believe that something happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Okay. Now, that kind of summarizes what you can expect
Okay.
to find at war.gov/UFO. Um,
Mm.
I don't blame you if you have mixed feelings at the moment. We're going to talk about that for kind of the rest of the podcast here. But the first thing I want to reassure anybody who has kind of a, "Oh, that's it," sense is there is widely reported to be more coming.
Mm. Okay.
UFO researcher Timothy Alberino says, quote, "I've been told UAP drops are going to get progressively more spectacular and that
Mm.
Arrow is being frozen out of the process."
Oh, hey, I mean, that should result in a lot better results.
Absolutely. Representative Tim Burchett said, "Remember, the feds told us these files didn't exist.
Hmm.
The first drop will be big, but in comparison to what is coming, there'll be a drop in the bucket. I would say the holy crap moment is coming."
Oh, I mean, I'm excited. I'm not going to hold my breath because
Yeah.
we've heard this before from Arrow, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's exciting.
We've never heard Arrow say the holy crap moment is coming. We've heard them say more files are coming.
Yeah, but Tim Burchett is not Arrow.
True. Yeah. Representative Anna Paulina Luna said there will be more files released, which will include our request of the 40 plus files. I talked to the Pentagon last night.
So it is interesting that of the files they didn't release the 40 that she requested.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
I think basically those had to be declassified. And we're going to talk about this more, but basically, I think this was the shit they could get declassified the fastest.
Okay.
So this is
Got
the
it.
first batch, and there's more they're working on.
These are the ones you could just draw a line through. So it's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
Right? Yeah.
exactly.
Other ones have like
This is a
tape on them.
ballpoint pen was
It's like
sufficient. We didn't have to wait for the declassified stamp to be made.
exactly.
It was on back order.
Yeah.
Representative Luna, a few hours later, clarified a little bit. She said, "This is a great first step. Additional releases are expected in the coming weeks. A second tranche of documents, including additional requested video footage, is anticipated within approximately 30 days. Further records, videos, imagery, and investigative materials will continue to be released on a rolling basis. I really like the sound of that.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for our podcast for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. News Nation reporter Mills Hayes said there's more coming out next week. 46 more declassified UAP videos that the House Oversight Committee requested are coming out next week.
Wow. Next week. That's I'm sorry. I keep seeing his name and thinking Haley Mills, getting
Yeah.
excited that she's involved in the UFO. But I thought Luna said 30 days.
She said approximately 30 days.
Oh, well, 7 is practically 30.
It depends on the scale.
All right,
On
fair.
a scale of 1 to a million.
Yeah, geologic scale.
Uh, Point being, everyone widely agrees there will definitely be more files, including the Pentagon. Like on their page, they said there will be rolling release of files. So
Mhm.
everyone widely agrees. There is no clarity on when the next release would be. We've got David Grush saying things are going to get serious in the next 60 to 90 days.
Yeah.
We've got Luna saying, in the next few weeks, within 30 days. We've got News Nation saying next week. I would expect that this is not a structured, like, every 30 days we will release a new tranche of documents. I think they are working on groups of documents, and as they get declassified, they will come out. Those
Yeah.
46, I suspect, are special because they had already been requested and were
Hmm.
already being processed for congressional release and are
Yeah.
now being rolled into this, which is great
Yeah.
because we talked about this before. They were requesting very specific videos that George Knapp and
Yeah.
Jeremy Corbell knew, including one that's from the weekend where they shot down 3 objects along with the Chinese
Right.
spy balloon. So
Yeah.
that could be
Yeah, that's
really
going to be
interesting.
fascinating. Yeah.
Now, for anybody who's feeling a little frustration about this weird rolling thing, you are not alone. I've got a longer quoted section here of an interview with Representative Eric Burleson on Fox News, where the host is super frustrated. So Fox News host Will Kane says, "My question for you would be why? Why slow roll this out like it's a season of Game of Thrones? Like, why would episode 1 be somewhat uninspiring and leave us with more questions than answers? If there's something coming after the teaser, what's the point in staging the release?"
I mean, pilots are not always the best, but also it's not Game of Thrones and it's not TV. They have no incentive to do it that way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Burleson very politely responds, "From talking with the White House and this administration, this is not an easy thing to do. There's not one huge repository with all of these documents and videos and photos. So what the agency is doing is going and finding, first and foremost, the items that are readily available to be released, right? They already crossed out top secret. Would you prefer to have them wait for what would probably take years if they were to do a
Oh, yeah.
comprehensive study and then release it all at once in a big batch? I would
No,
prefer that they release it as they find it."
absolutely. I mean, it's not like they created the all domain reporting organization or whatever to gather files together and
Arrow, you had
report
one job.
one job.
As we have covered repeatedly on this podcast, Arrow is bad at their one job.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's why we're freezing them out.
So Burleson, like I said, very calmly responds with
Yeah,
a very reasonable response. Kane's
right.
not having any of it. He says,
Yeah,
"If that's true, are we trying to prepare the American people with a slow drip, drip, drip tease of this stuff? If not, Congressman, I would say if this is all we've got, then I'm not sure there's anything the American government really has that tells us anything about the existence of aliens. I'm beginning to feel like this entire story is teased out, always just beyond our reach."
oh, oh, sweet Kane, you must be new to this field. Prepare for frustration, my man.
Right? Burleson responds, "I can sense your frustration. I've experienced it personally myself. I have seen videos that I think are in the process of being declassified. So I think that there is more to come. If they're not going to be declassified, and I'm going to interrupt here for a second, this next part I think is really interesting because
Yeah.
Burleson basically says, if they won't do it, I will.
Yeah.
He says, if they're not going to be declassified, I will probably do an effort to release them myself under speech and debate, which is basically a clause that says Congress people can talk about anything without getting in trouble.
Hmm.
Um, but
Oh.
again, a lot of the footage that I've seen is similar to what has been released today. There's some that are pretty interesting, and especially given the environment and circumstances of the videos. Whether they're videos of UAP that are flying around Russian submarines, or a video of our aircraft that are firing on some of those UAPs. Pause for a moment. UAP flying around a Russian submarine, that sounds like Immaculate Constellation.
Hmm.
Um,
I don't remember it well enough, but
yeah, point is, Burleson is clearly hinting at videos that we, the public,
yeah.
haven't seen.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, but
I've
he
seen
has.
some
Yeah.
shit, says
Yeah.
Burleson.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I've seen these kind of videos, and so I'm teasing that because I know that I'm telling the administration through you at this moment that if they don't release these, then I have the capabilities of getting those videos and releasing them.
That I mean, that's really interesting. Why I guess why hasn't he done it before? I guess
I mean,
it
the
feels
short
more
answer is
legit.
Burleson is a team player. Like,
Okay,
we like
fair.
Burleson. We talk about him a lot on this show, but at the end of the
Yeah,
day, he is a Republican. He is a
sure.
supporter of President Trump, and he has come out repeatedly and talked about working with them. Also, at the moment, Burleson has been reporting that the White House has been actively supporting him getting access to locations. There's a rumor going
Okay.
around that he got to go to Area 51 very recently.
Ah, that's cool.
Um, so he may not be motivated to rock the boat, but he's willing to kind of prod them and go like, "Hey, I am still interested in disclosure though, and if you don't, I
Yeah.
will."
Yeah. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Now, the other thing that we heard a lot about coming into this and continue to hear a lot about is that there has been some resistance to this
Sure.
disclosure internally. Liberation Times wrote, adding to frustrations, President Trump posted on Truth Social that the people can decide for themselves. One source added, these files do not include the finished intelligence analyses produced by various departments and agencies. Those finished analyses would be classified and require review by the original classification authority before release. So,
The
getting back to
mm,
that idea of like, where's the supporting material? Where's the radar
yeah,
data? Where's the eyewitness statements? Like,
right.
that shit didn't get released. Just the video did.
Yeah, but man, that would be so much cooler to have the analysis.
Yeah, 100%. Liberation Times goes on to say an intelligence source familiar with collection systems told Liberation Times the video footage that has been released came from tactical military systems with lower security
Sure.
classifications. What has not been released was collected by the national systems controlled by the National Reconnaissance Office and CIA, which are deployed in sensitive areas where no U.S. or allied presence is publicly acknowledged.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
So
So there's
secret
better
bases.
stuff on
Yeah.
better cameras recorded by the CIA in places they're not supposed to be.
Supposed to be interesting. Interesting.
And in case you're still thinking like, I don't know if this paints a picture of resistance, UFO whistleblower David Grush says, it has come to my attention as of today that there are some actors within certain intelligence agencies, to include DIA and CIA specifically, that are blocking some of the president's team in getting access and getting control on some of these historical records.
I mean, is this different from what Grush reported to the ICIG? Or
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, this is on brand for Grush to report like institutional intransigence. But
right?
yes, what he reported to the ICIG was specifically about in the course of me doing my job, I was blocked from access to things I should
Okay.
have had, and then they threatened my career.
I see.
Liberation Times confirmed David's reporting and said 3 sources have claimed to Liberation Times that the Trump administration is facing resistance in its quest to release more substantial information by figures linked to the CIA. Now, I didn't include it here because, frankly, it's boring, but they full up outed one of the guys who's supposed to be preventing them from getting files. They named him, they talked about his background, where he is, why he might be doing it. So,
Wow. I'm in a
linked in the show notes if you're curious. But unless you know the CIA and who this guy is, I don't think it really means anything to lay people like us. But
right.
shots fired.
Yeah, right. And with a name like the government or the presidential government can actually do something about it, even if we
You'd
don't
hope.
understand the name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But it definitely, if there has been a through line in this show from day one, it's been we keep getting conflicting reports from the government. And like going way back to
Mm,
Roswell and onwards, you get one group that is pro disclosure and another group comes in afterwards and shuts it all down. And they just
yeah.
kind of like seesaw back and forth, one side gaining the upper hand, the other side gaining the upper hand.
Yeah.
And it's wild that this is still happening today with the president overtly saying, we're doing this. And they're like, yeah,
Right.
but no.
Yeah. It's such a big organization. Of course that's happening.
Yeah. Um, so we're wrapping up here, but let's
Okay.
talk about some reactions from the community.
Yeah.
I want to be clear. If you can think of a person's name in the UFO community, they have posted to Twitter about this. I am not including anyone who's like, thank you, President Trump, for making this happen, or I'm glad this is happening. And just kind of like piggybacking on. Like, I've tried to only include people who are kind of adding substantially to the conversation, with one exception, because a name I have not seen pop up in the UFO community for a long time
Yeah.
popped up. Blink 182 singer Tom DeLonge, who, if you're not familiar, we have an episode on him very early in the show, can
Yeah.
arguably be blamed for the entire post 2017 UFO
Right.
resurgence. Um, Popped up and said, I think that this is a tremendous thing that's happening. I think for a bunch of reasons. Number one, the government is now formally doing stuff. They're formally investigating it, formally reviewing it, formally putting it out. But I'm just really excited. I'm really proud. And I think that the net that they're casting right now, they're really getting things done, and the government's taking this seriously. And I'm still very connected to the subject and to a lot of people working on this, and I feel really good about it. I'm really optimistic that this is going to lead to more investigations and to more review.
Do you think that he regrets getting out of this in order to get the group back together?
So hard to tell because his plan was never to do it publicly. Like,
Mm,
he was working behind the scenes on this for something like a year,
mm.
making moves and meeting with people. And then WikiLeaks happened, and John Podesta's emails got leaked, and we found out John Podesta was talking to the Blink 182 kid about UFOs. And like,
Huh.
suddenly it was all out there. And then right around that same time, Lou Elizondo's looking to get out of government and be a public advocate. And there's Tom DeLonge suddenly publicly involved.
Yeah,
He
right.
spins up to the stars. That's how we meet Chris Mellon. That's how we meet Lou
Mm,
Elizondo. That's how we meet a lot of the people behind the scenes that we now talk about on a daily
yeah, all the
basis.
time.
Um, Now, To the Stars kind of fell apart after the pandemic, but it's very easy to argue that all of that happened because of Tom DeLonge. So
Mm,
I'm happy to see him pop back up. I wouldn't
yeah,
blame him if he had complicated feelings about it.
yeah,
Um, I imagine he's happier playing guitar
yeah,
than he is
probably.
trying to move the immovable rock that is the government.
Yeah, and I do like that he says he's really proud. That
Yeah,
that
he
makes me
should be.
happy.
Absolutely. Rogue UAPTF tweeted, this is one of
It's a
that
great name.
batch of Rogue Department Twitter accounts that came up when Trump took office. They've still been at it. I have no idea how official these people are, but they made a really good point, I thought. They said to any journalists out there who are talking about this, please avoid the trap of saying the UFO files have been released. They haven't. A very tiny subset of carefully screened and curated files, some of which had already been public for decades, have been released.
Yeah. Yeah. The old definition of done, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's a hard one,
if the government
but
had
it's a good
not
point.
been so clear that this is tranche one of an
Yeah.
ongoing rolling release, I would absolutely be sharing that concern. I think it's
Yeah.
great to point it out. I'm personally optimistic that there is more coming, that it will be more
Yeah.
exciting, but I think that is a very reasonable, cautious
Yep.
concern to have. This ain't it. If this is
Mm-hmm.
step one, great. But if this is all that comes out, this ain't it.
Yeah. Right.
Disclosure Foundation Executive Director Jordan Flowers says, while it is tempting to put a microscope on each file and image and video released today, let's be clear about what's happening. The US government is now telling us through multiple agencies across multiple releases that there are objects in our airspace with capabilities beyond anything we've built. That is not fringe. That is now the official position.
It is a huge change, and it
Yeah.
does it does make me wonder why, like, Obama, who really likes aliens, why did he not get this done? Like, Tom DeLonge didn't soften us up enough, or
Yeah.
what?
It is such a fascinating question why this hasn't happened before.
Yeah.
And as you can imagine, there's every explanation you could think of, including it's driven by the aliens and they said no. But more to the
Sure.
point, I think the practical answer is the internal power struggle. And
Mm.
frankly, as much as I have issues with President Trump, he is a loose cannon and he does have the ability to just kind of bulldoze in and do whatever. Whereas someone like Obama, I could imagine wanting to handle this a little more cautiously. Let's make sure
Mm.
this doesn't reflect on the government in a bad light. Let's release the files in maybe a more orderly way than leaving a hard drive on some random Fox News reporter's desk. Let's put up a real website, not just at war. You know, like he would have been
Yeah.
much more cautious. And
Mm.
internal
Yeah.
resistance may have torpedoed any efforts before they really had a chance to mature. Where someone
Yeah.
like Trump is willing to just kind of bulldoze ahead and trust
Yeah.
that it'll work out.
Right. And I guess most other presidents haven't replaced literally everyone with their toadies. I
Yep.
think that's got to make a big difference too.
One would hope. Yeah. So, one last quote here.
Yeah.
Liberation Times had a big article about this. And one of the quotes that I found really fascinating, uh, several intelligence and defense sources, so this is not one person saying this, is multiple people
Okay.
have echoed this, told Liberation Times that in their view, UFO disclosure would mean one, an explicit acknowledgement that the US has recovered vehicles and bodies of non human origin, potentially including living beings, and two, an acknowledgement that the US government has entered into cooperative agreements with
Oh,
non human entities and has used their assistance to understand and adapt exotic technologies.
what?
Those are two statements.
Yeah,
Number
really different.
one, I think is pretty well supported at this point. We
Yeah,
have been talking about the claim that the US government has a crash retrieval and reverse engineering program
sure.
for years now. I think we have quite a bit of evidence that leads me to think that is plausible, if not likely.
Hmm.
That second statement that effectively says we have a treaty with aliens,
Yeah,
that's wild. And hearing that several sources told them that, I find really intriguing. So
yeah. Wow.
I don't know, man. We we have a Discord, right? And
Mhm.
before Friday, when this release happens, one of our Discord members had prepared a bingo card of like things to look out for if
Love our
disclosure
Discord.
happens. And unfortunately, it didn't really apply because it was kind of based around the idea that Trump would give a speech. So it was like things he
Yeah.
might mention during the speech.
Okay.
But like, it's been on people's mind. We have been talking about it. We've been kind of breathing about it. And then Friday, suddenly the files drop and everybody in Discord is talking about it. And someone is like, Scott's got a busy weekend ahead of him. It's like, yeah, like
Yeah.
my weekend plans got torpedoed. I still haven't looked at everything in it. There's a lot of
Yeah. There's
files
a
in it.
lot.
But I have had a few days to kind of gather my thoughts. And for me, I think it boils down to a few things. One, echoing what the Disclosure Foundation guy said, this is just a big deal to have another official government statement
Yeah.
echoing the fundamental truth that UFOs are real.
Mm.
What they are, who knows? But this is official government paperwork, videos, files confirming what we already had, and they have kind of confirmed repeatedly, but is now like there's a top level domain, like slash
Yeah.
UFOs. That is for, again, guys of our generation who grew up in the X-Files era when the official government line was, it ain't real, we don't investigate it, go away
Swamp
and stop
gas.
talking to us,
Hmm.
to war.gov slash UFO is a big, wild shift to
It's a
live
big
through
change.
in our lifetime. Even if
Yeah.
nothing else comes from it, I think that's kind of monumental.
Yeah.
Second, I don't see anything in this release to get excited about other than the possibility that there's more. And I hate saying that. I hate being a little jaded about 100+ files being dropped, but it's true. Like, it's more infrared footage. We already had infrared footage. There's nothing that I can show someone who's a skeptic that makes them go, oh, wow, there's something to this. Um, in terms of me being able to explain to people why I run a UFO podcast, this has not meaningfully added to the conversation other than the
Yeah.
fact that the government released files. But every single person I've talked to about this has shrugged and gone, yeah, he's trying to distract us from either Iran or Epstein.
Sure.
Maybe, I don't think Trump is playing three-dimensional chess here, though. Like, he has shown a pretty big willingness to completely ignore public opinion on an unpopular war. I don't see why suddenly he'd be like, oh my god, release the UFO files or they're going to be mad at me. Like, has
No.
anything in his character led you to believe he cares about distracting us? Like,
No. Not at all.
maybe. Like, but what I take heart in is the idea that there's more coming, and we have
Yeah.
many people telling us that they have inside information that the stuff that is coming will be more impressive. I go back to Tim
Yeah.
Burchett's holy crap moment. I go back to David Grush
Yeah.
talking about something more than just videos. I go back to all these people who have been saying these releases are going to get more exciting over time. I don't think they're intentionally doing a drip, drip, ease the public in, boil the frog thing. But if you were going to, if you were building up to
Mm.
reverse engineering program, we have recovered crafts. And maybe, as multiple sources told Liberation Times, we have treaties.
Yeah.
Doing a every few months we drop a few more files that confirm a few more of these rumors might be the way to slowly ease the public into this so that it's not
Yeah.
just day one Trump says we've got a treaty with the Zeta Reticulans. I
Yeah.
don't think that would go over well, but if it happened over 6 months, gradually building up the,
Sure.
maybe
It's a
maybe
very
and
reasonable way,
I
but
just said I don't think Trump is playing three-dimensional chess, and now I'm kind of arguing they're playing three-dimensional chess. So I don't know,
uh,
but I am cautiously optimistic.
yeah.
If this is step one and it does get more impressive over time, this is really fucking exciting. If
Yeah.
it doesn't get more impressive over time,
Hmm. That's
Eh,
pretty normal.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a very exciting time.
It's a very exciting time.
Right.
God, we picked a good name for the show.
We
Thanks,
really
Annie.
did. We nailed it.
Oh my God. What a freaking podcast, huh? What a
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah. No kidding.
All right. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us on It's a Very Exciting Time. You can find show notes and more on our website, veryexcitingtime.com, as well as links to our Discord and social media accounts.
And if you'd like to support the show, please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/veryexcitingtime or grab some t-shirts at veryexcitingtime.com/merch.
And Chuck, as always, my wife thanks you for listening to me talk about UFOs so she doesn't have to.